have the light.
I'm sorry.
All right, we are going to stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Now we're going to call this meeting to order. This is a regular city council meeting. We're in City Hall Council Chambers, 389 Spruce Street. It's Tuesday, May 20th at 7:20 p.m. This meeting is broadcast live via YouTube at City of Morgantown YouTube. And ask the clerk if she would please call the roll.
Yes. Bill Koecki?
Here.
Wheezy Michael?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Celine?
Here.
Daniel Trumbull?
Here.
Dave Harshbarger?
Here.
Brian Butcher?
Here.
Mayor Buganim?
And now we are going to have the approval of minutes. We have the May 5th special meeting minutes, May 6th special meeting minutes, and May 6th regular meeting minutes. Acclamation? Any corrections or additions? All right. So those are approved, and now we're going to move on to correspondence. Thank you. Get that thing popped back in there, over here. All right. So if you would like to first come up, we have Andy Horn-York here, and this is the Asian American, Native American, Pacific Islander Heritage Month Proclamation. Beautiful. And we have Andy Cronin-York, our Human Rights Commission Chair.
That's not necessarily me too, I guess.
So, whereas Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month is observed nationally in May, recognizing the contributions to the history, culture, and achievements of the United States by the NHPI, diverse peoples and their descendants, and the widely accepted Bering Land Bridge theory indicates that the first Asians migrated to North America over 15,000 years ago by an Asian North American land bridge. And whereas AANHPI Heritage Month is celebrated in May to honor two important dates: May 7th, 1843, as the arrival of the first Japanese immigrants admitted to the United States, and May 10th, 1869, commemorating the significant contribution of Chinese laborers who worked to build our first transcontinental railroad that was completed that day with the driving of the Golden Spike. And whereas President Carter first proclaimed Asian American Heritage Week in 1978, President George H.W. Bush extended it to Asian Pacific American Heritage Month in 1992, and President Biden updated its name to Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month with a 2021 proclamation. And whereas by the 2020 U.S. Census, about 7% of U.S. citizens identified as AANHPI descent, and the U.S. Census Bureau estimates their number to be well over 22 million. And whereas the City of Morgantown values its diversity and recognizes the substantial contributions that its more than 1,200 Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander residents have made and continue to make to its culture, history, and community as we work toward our shared goal of liberty and justice for all. Now, therefore, I, Jenny Celine, on behalf of Joe Abuganim, the mayor of the City of Morgantown, West Virginia, on behalf of the City Council on this 20th day of May, 2025, do hereby proclaim May as Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. And the City of Morgantown encourage all to celebrate the contributions and cultures of our community members. So, thank you very much. And here this is. No, I'm gonna state it how it's written.
Very nice.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice job. All right. This is where you can make a comment.
What I learned whilst writing this proclamation. Pretty much everything's on here is what I learned because I knew nothing about it. It is the first time it's been proclaimed in Morgantown, even though clearly it's been around for a while. When it was President H.W. Bush put it into law that it be a thing, a month, as it were. What the statute said is that he may proclaim it as Heritage Month. Each year, the executive may say this is AAPI at the time, month. And it has been proclaimed, as near as I can tell, every year since then. Not this year. The Department of Transportation and several other departments in our new administration have put out directives to their employees that we will not be celebrating any more race or gender-based celebrations of months or heritage or the like, because they do not go toward meritocracy. And this whole DEI thing is divisive. So us proclaiming it, he puts us on the outside, which is good. I like being there. So thank you for proclaiming it. I apologize that there are so many letters in it, but at least they're correct.
It's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we have 3 public hearings. The first one is an ordinance authorizing the transfer of city real estate to the Morgantown Land Reuse and Preservation Agency. So this is a public hearing just on these particular items. So we're going to open this public hearing. And if there's anyone wishing to speak on this item only, please feel free to come to the microphone. We're going to close this public hearing. And next, we have a hearing on an ordinance transferring property identified as parcel ID 3110 00300202 from the Morgantown Building Commission to the City of Morgantown. We're going to open this public hearing. If there's anyone wishing to speak, and we're going to close this public hearing. Now we're on item C, resolution which would approve I, the tax increment financing application, the TIF application, with respect to the proposed amendments to Riverfront Project Number 1 for the Development Redevelopment District known and designated as City of Morgantown Riverfront Development Redevelopment District Number 2. Little I, the submission of the TIF application to the West Virginia Division of Economic Development, and little I3, the approval of other items in connection therewith. So if there's anyone wishing to speak at this particular public hearing, this is your moment. So we're going to open it. And we're going to wait a minute. And then we're going to close it. Then we're going to pass through unfinished business this evening and move on to public portion, which shall be subject to the rules established by council and adopted by resolution. So we're going to open this. And we would love to have Andy come up on behalf of the HRC. This is Annie Cronin York.
You didn't think of anything while sitting there. I did forget to mention during the AANHPI proclamation that Sister Cities Commission has got a partnership with the city of Shuzhou in China, which is the home of the Han Dynasty. And I did not call Liz Finkley in time to get somebody in here to help accept the proclamation. Oops. Something else I was going to mention. Hamster wheels as well. As you did not speak to boards and commission, does that mean I'm fired?
No.
Okay. The Human Rights Commission needs more commissioners, preferably good ones, people who are willing to put in some time doing some work and responsibly participate in what it is we do. We always ask that they attend one of our meetings prior to being appointed to the board, so they aren't disappointed in us terribly once they're appointed and get there. Find out we don't do what they think we should do. So, anybody interested in TV land or wherever you may be, you can submit your application online. Just go to the city website. You can even go to the Human Rights Commission webpage, and we've got a link to send you to the application. At least we're supposed to. Search for applications. Our meetings are once a month on the third Thursday at 6:30, Public Safety Building. And they usually last from about 6:30 until 9, unless there are technical difficulties like this past meeting, that went until 9:15. But in between, people are actively working. It shouldn't be anybody's full-time job. It's not what we expect. But we would like people who are interested in doing something and not just putting it on their resume. Because it's not all that impressive on your resume, so be ready to work. Is all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, if there's anyone else wishing to speak during the public portion, this is your moment. Otherwise, we're going to close the public portion and move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda this evening consists of consideration of approval of second reading of an ordinance authorizing the transfer of city real estate to the Morgantown Land Reuse and Preservation Agency. The first reading was May 6, 2025. And the other item is consideration of approval of a second reading of an ordinance transferring property identified as parcel ID number 3110 0030 0202 0000 from the Morgantown Building Commission to the City of Morgantown. The first reading on that one was May 6, 2025. And so, unless anyone is wanting to take an item off for some other additional consideration, which I'll give one little pause here in case someone does. Otherwise, as a consent agenda, it would...
To approve the consent agenda.
There we go.
Second.
Thank you. And then we would ask the clerk if she would please call the roll.
Yes. Bill Kolecki?
Yes.
Weezy Michael?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Celine?
Yes?
Danielle Trumbull?
Yes.
Dave Harshbarger?
Yes.
Brian Butcher?
Yes.
So, we're on to new business. The item is approved unanimously. On to new business. Consideration of approval of first reading of an ordinance authorizing a commercial operating agreement and lease with Loves Flying Flight Training LLC. And so I would like to turn it over to Damian Davis.
So this is a new tenant, which will be operating a flight school. The lease is for 3 years, both in the terminal building and hangar space. Will be a competitor to the existing flight school, which we'll be approving next. Any questions?
Move to approve the agreement?
I second.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Do they
share a hangar space?
No, it's separate.
Two separate hangars?
Yeah.
Very good.
And two separate spaces in the terminal building as well.
Interesting, there's enough competition or enough demand for competition.
Well, I think the existing one will operate flight school too, but I think they're focused on maintaining planes too as well, educating people how to fix planes, maintain planes as well. So I think they're might be focusing more on that side of things.
It seemed like they had made those change in emphasis, and so this was
Okay,
something that would be useful and,
yeah, competition's good.
yeah, a good idea. All right, any other questions? Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes. Bill Korecki?
Yes.
Weezy Michael?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Celine?
Yes.
Danielle Trumbull?
Yes?
Dave Harshbarger?
Yes.
Brian Butcher?
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Item B, consideration of approval of the first reading of an ordinance authorizing a commercial operating agreement and lease with RSA Flight School. And once again, we could ask Damon Davis, our acting city manager, or interim, pardon me, city manager.
Acting interim, that's perfect. Again, this is the existing tenant up there, redoing their lease for a 12-year period. Again, they both do flight training and they do maintenance of planes. They teach that. I think they are shifting towards the maintenance of planes side of things, do more of that. So
Did you say 12 years?
it is 12 years.
How long was their last lease?
I have no idea.
That seems like a long time compared to the 3 years for the other one.
Yeah. I will look that up and find out for you, but
I don't know, it just seemed like a long time. It's fine.
I mean, that's good if they have that confidence in their business
Well,
that they.
I think maintenance is a real issue, so it's good if we are solving it with a longer term lease, if that's the case.
Are they in the same space that Marlin had at one time, that hangar?
I am not sure which space they are up at the airport. I believe they are on that side of the airport.
Maybe we could ask John to just clarify where each one's located and what they're focusing on, just so we all have a little more information.
Move to approve.
Second. Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Nope.
These just happened to come up at the same time?
Yeah. So,
Funny, we're approving one of its competitors. Same thing. Apologies.
Bill Korecki?
Yes.
Weezy Michael?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Celine?
Yes.
Danielle Trumbull?
Yes?
Dave Harshbarger?
Yes.
Brian Butcher?
Yes.
Approved unanimously. Item C, consideration of approval of a resolution which would approve the TIF application with respect to the proposed amendments to waterfront project number 1 for the Development Redevelopment District known and designated as City of Morgantown Riverfront Development Redevelopment District number 2. And then little I, so number 2, the submission of the TIF application to the West Virginia Division of Economic Development, and little I3, the approval of other items in connection therewith. So if we could ask our attorney Ryan Simonton or someone from Cruz Associates to make comment on this.
Certainly. This resolution, as described previously to council by Tom Amon with Steptoe and Johnson, our bond counsel, would approve submitting an application to the West Virginia Department of Economic Development to propose an amendment to the Riverfront TIF district, including extending the life of the district This is part of an effort to restructure the outstanding debt in the district, a collaborative effort with the bondholders to put the district finances on a better footing. We do have Tom Amon with Steptoe and Johnson, Rob Steptoe with Cruz and Associates here if council would like to address any questions about it.
All right,
I move to approve.
thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All right, so what questions do we have, if any?
For the sake of, I guess, of the public, assuming we have somebody looking in, the reasoning behind this?
Well, so the reasoning is that there's currently a subordinate series of bonds outstanding in the district that is, the district does not generate enough revenue to pay off. The anticipated development in the district did not generate the revenue that was planned when that series of bonds was issued, and so the purchaser of those bonds is not receiving all the revenue promised under the bonds. That is, it's not an obligation of the city general funds, but it is something that is not working right in the district, for lack of a more thorough description. And so this restructuring will just issue a new series of bonds that will then get them what they expect. The city, along with Steptoe and Johnson and our other partners, have been working with the bondholder over a period of many, many years to try to find a solution for this, and we think we've found a good one now. And if you guys would like to jump in and talk about that, feel free.
So,
She's good at
Happy to talk
that.
it's a little, the setting here is a little strange. I'm not used to so few number of people here. So yes, we do have, I'll try not to go into too much detail, but we do have the senior bonds that were for a portion of the parking garage, and then some improvements to Walnut and infrastructure in that area. And then these subordinate bonds, 2007 bonds, were placed with the developer Mermaid to finance the cost of the event center, to get them reimbursed for those costs. And then, as Ryan had indicated, the development in that riverfront district has not generated the revenues that were anticipated to get all those obligations repaid. The senior bonds are in good standing. Those were publicly offered bonds, and those are on a paying basis, no problem with those. Although the coverage has been shrinking slightly. So it's going to help to restructure all the bonds. The amendment and the extension of the district allows the bonds to be extended and amortized over a longer period, which will create an opportunity to get more of the investment repaid. So essentially, that's what is occurring, what we're trying to accomplish.
The other TIF district we're looking at, we're altering the footprint. This TIF district is staying the same size. We're
It
just
is.
extending the term 15 years?
Yes, the life of the district.
Just for point of clarity, could you give the defined boundary of this district?
I believe I have a picture is probably worth 1,000 words in this kind of a circumstance. We have published a notice of public hearing that does indicate the boundaries of the district. Probably the best I can do is to show you that map, and it's right along the front edge of the riverfront area there.
And the southernmost boundary is grabbing the hotel? Is that right?
It's Heritage Park.
Heritage Park.
I think it's in the
Okay.
legal description that they put in paper. Is it on there?
I can't read
This is a little better, actually. It's a little larger.
My eyes are good.
That one you can probably read.
Yeah.
Which one is this?
And so just past Westover Bridge on the northern, in the East District.
Yeah.
It's from Walnut Street down to
Walnut.
Heritage Park, and then
That would really
goes
help us
across
if we had a little
University
bit more
Avenue and picks up
development in this area.
that first block of parcels for the most part.
This is a bigger map.
Yeah, nice to see that.
It's a small one, they have big ones.
I think there's a general, in the application that we're filing, there's a general description, I believe. The district is along the Mon River, in or near the waterfront wharf area of the city, and includes waterfront place complex as well as adjacent residential commercial properties. That's not as descriptive as what I would like.
What is the current end of this TIF period?
2030, it was created in 2003, so 2033.
So what's the purpose of doing this now as opposed to closer to the end date?
Well,
Different
we're
bonds?
taking
or-
advantage of, the farther we get toward the end, the shorter the overall amortization is shrinking, which limits our ability more and more to accomplish a successful restructuring. So more time allows more opportunity to get this straightened out in a more efficient way.
And the city's under no obligation to meet those bonds, correct? You are correct.
And there is also a portion of the district that's planned to be set aside and not included in the pledge of the restructured debt, to where if development does occur there in the future, there's going to be a split of revenues from that development that would be available to the city to use potentially for other purposes.
That sounds great. What portion is that?
Well, no, are we publicly discussing that yet, or?
I think that, I don't know
Ask him to
that
vote on a jar.
those terms would be part of the refinancing. There is a tentative agreement with the current bondholder on those. It is necessary to agree with them to make that financing work, frankly, because they're forgiving a large sum of debt in order to do the restructuring. So I think that the terms of that deal will be...
The bondholders forgiving that, or?
That's right, yes. So there's amounts that they are owed under the current bonds that just cannot be repaid under the current life of the district and current revenue generated by it. So they're forgiving that debt, and then this new financing will set the terms of the payment. And so they will be expected to get a certain amount of funds under those bond terms, and then to have some revenue share with the city of any funds that might be generated beyond that. Now, the bond terms will be based on the projections that Cruz and Associates prepares, so anything else would be unexpected, but I think my understanding is it'll depend in part on what those revenue projections are at the time of the bond closing.
So this is the TIF portion, and then there will be a refinancing portion?
This is the request to amend the TIF
So that
district,
can
and then
be-
that extra 15 years of the life of the district, as Tom's describing, would give the city the opportunity to issue a new series of bonds to make this deal with the bondholder because of those additional 15 years of increment revenue.
So can you explain to the public and to us
Please.
what the advantages and disadvantages of a TIF district in general are? And it doesn't have to necessarily come from you, but probably best from you. Advantages and disadvantages of the TIF district are what we're getting if we approve this, potentially, in a general sense, maybe, and what we would lose if we approve this, what we would lose if we don't.
Sure. So TIF districts are tax increment financing districts. They are set up to support development that otherwise would not happen, and that's why we have this application process through the West Virginia Department of Economic Development. If there are cities or counties that identify a potential development that otherwise wouldn't make sense for a developer, essentially, they can apply to create these districts, and they can use this mechanism to support the development essentially by building infrastructure. When a TIF district's created, it sets a base value for the current property taxes in the district, and then the increased property taxes in the future over the life of the district, which can be up to 30 years by the initial legislation and now has an option to be extended for 15 years, are then, all those excess revenues are then distributed to the city or county that created the district, and they can be used for all the approved public purposes in the project plan. Usually that is the kind of infrastructure that would support a larger new development, water, sewer, stormwater, electric, roads, lighting, that sort of thing. And because those costs are often otherwise borne by the developer, that can incentivize a development that otherwise would not occur. The long-term benefit is that the community then not only has those additional uses, but has a larger tax base when the district ends. So in this case, this district was created in the early years of the West Virginia TIF Act, way before I was working on any of this stuff, so apologies. But and it obviously helped create, as Tom indicated, the parking district, the parking garage, and the event center in the Wharf district. Right now, the subordinate bondholder is not receiving all the anticipated bond payments, so the restructuring gets not to the place where the current bonds would have repaid them, but to a place where they agree that all payments are being made. The city's not in a technical default under the terms of any bonds. While it's true that TIF district debt is not collectible against the city general funds, it could, I think, have impacts on the credit rating if you're not making efforts to pay off those debts. And I think it may be unclear whether there's what happens if you reach the end of the TIF term under the arrangements that created this district and that debt is not repaid, whether there's some obligation to continue that TIF arrangement until it would be paid. And so for the city's benefit, it is not only reaching an agreement with a party that it made this initial bond agreement with, but it's also removing that uncertainty at the end of the district term.
Thank you.
Certainly.
Does anyone else have any questions? We done the motion thing?
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah, I did.
Thank you. Okay. And if you would please call the roll.
Bill Koecki,
Yes.
Weezy Michael,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Celine,
Yes.
Danielle Trumbull,
No.
Dave Harshbarger,
Yes.
Brian Butcher.
Yes.
Appreciate it. Passes, I have to do my higher math here. 6-1. No, 5-1. Oh, my goodness. All right, 5-1. Thank you very much. And thank you all for coming. And now we are to the city manager's report.
Nothing to report, other than say thanks to the people who came out last Saturday for the cleanup, and appreciate all the hard work. They cleaned up a lot of trash out there. So.
Pretty amazing difference.
I'll let Daniel speak more to that.
Just a dump truck and a half, no big deal.
It's a lot of stuff. Report from the city clerk?
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. I want to share the dates for the civil service testing are coming up, so I want to give those dates again. For fire, there are 2 open houses which will happen on June 1st. That's a Sunday at 1 p.m. at the Northside Fire Station, and also Saturday, June 14th at 9 a.m. at the Northside Fire Station. Those are opportunities for potential candidates to take the agility exam or practice it with the firefighters. And they have found that they've been very helpful with getting folks to pass that agility test. The agility exam is Saturday, June 28th at 9 a.m. at the Northside Fire Station. Those who pass that agility exam will go on 30 days past that to take the written exam, and that is Wednesday, July 30th at 6 p.m. If folks could go to the Morgantown website at morgantownwv.gov, there's headers on the top that says departments, and scroll down to fire department, and there are links there that say apply to become a Morgantown firefighter. It takes you right to the application. It's an online process, and once they hit submit, it comes to all of us, I believe. I believe you all get them as well. Do you get them? No? Not the firefighter or
We
police?
get board and
Just the board and commission? Okay.
applications.
Well, they come to the city clerk's office, to Nikki and I, and so again, the dates are coming up, so we're still taking applications, and we recommend folks to take a look at the website to see all the things that the fire department can offer them for the career. And then also the police department, they will be holding entry-level police officer exams on June 28th. That's also coming up. If folks can go to the website, to morgantownwv.gov, to the departments, and then police department, there's a link that says apply to be a police officer, or they can go to morgantownpd.com, and there are many links to apply. So click the link, it's all online. Of course, if someone would like to turn in a physical copy of either of those applications, they're both on there, PDF, and so folks can turn those in to the clerk's office. And I just want to read something that is on our website when folks go there. It's just something that one of the police officers have written, and it's on our website. It says, when you join the Morgantown Police Department, you're making an investment in your future and taking the first steps toward a rewarding career. We make a difference in our community every time we put on the uniform. Our officers are highly trained and respected throughout law enforcement. We place importance on training to ensure our officers are equipped to handle whatever they encounter. Our annual training includes de-escalation and implicit bias. We respect all people and emphasize community policing and developing relationships with community members to make Morgantown a safe environment for everyone. So, again, take a look at our website, and if you have any questions, call the clerk's office. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Report from our city attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. With council's approval tonight, we will transfer the skate park property from the building commission to the city. The building commission did approve at its meeting last week. We'll also complete the minor subdivision process to consolidate that parcel with the surrounding parcels so that it can then serve as security for the upcoming Lower Marilla improvements project. We'll also be preparing the deed to the Land Reuse and Preservation Agency for the 19 parcels conveyed by council tonight to that agency so that they can return that property to productive use. And then we have, I think, thoroughly discussed the process for the TIF amendment application that was discussed tonight. So we will proceed to work with the bond council on that process after receiving response from the Department of Economic Development. And that's all I have to report.
Thank you very much. Report from council members. Councilor Butcher, would you like to start?
Sure. I don't have too much to report on. I guess just more lofty ideas that I wanted to float around since we have a new council coming. For one, the U.S. legislature is about to vote whether or not to strip Medicaid from all sorts of people very soon this week. And I hope people are paying attention to that and understand the impacts of that and what it's going to do to our hospital system. And our kind of rural healthcare systems. Both of our West Virginia senators have endorsed the idea of cutting Medicaid, Medicare, which is like devastating to their constituents. So I hope people are paying attention and talking to their legislators and understanding what those impacts are. The other thing is I've been looking at a lot of different housing outcomes, and there's been a lot of talk recently about what municipal strategies can be used. A lot of talk about particularly deregulation in terms of the national kind of conversation and how our regulation gets in our own way in terms of building housing. Not necessarily a view I agree with, but it is that conversation is happening. I think there's an aggressive way that we could be attacking public housing in our city that I think we need to start exploring and thinking about, ways in which we can do that and in a way that's economical, in a way that spurs economic activity, so that we don't bankrupt ourselves doing so, but so that we have people that can afford to live here, that work here, and again, spur economic activity. I think one of the big problems we're facing right now in terms of housing is that a lot of people are focused on building, but what are we building? If we're building towards middle and higher income, then we have no one to work our service jobs. We have no one that can afford to actually live here and spur that economic activity, and hopefully, eventually, start a business here. So we have to be thinking about how we encourage low-income housing first, because those same people who are taking up low-income housing, the people that need to be living in low-income housing are currently living in middle-income housing, can't afford the rent. It leaves them in a precarious housing situation and therefore cannot spend extra money on the things that we would like them to be spending money on. And so the idea that we would build out in the middle is erroneous, I think. We can make more space in middle income and therefore drive down those sorts of rents in the market by building low income. So I have some ideas that are probably way too lofty, but maybe we can think about how we meet in the middle there. And so I look forward to sharing that with the rest of council once we get a new council on, so I don't waste Dave and Bill's time. And working on that going forward. But I appreciate everybody here tonight, and I do want to say, what do you guys got left? One meeting? Is that right? June. Oh, okay, you got both meetings in June?
There's a whole other month.
Okay, both
Yeah,
meetings in
committee
June.
of the whole.
So it's countdown right now. But I've appreciated working with you guys. I'm sure we'll be saying that a lot over the next few meetings. So. Thanks. That'll conclude my report.
Thank you.
I'd like to use my report to give an update on MUB, and there's going to be some, it's out there a little bit, but I wanted to give a timeline with Star City and Westover, so if y'all have questions, I can bring that back to you. And with Star City, the MUB leadership team has been working with Star City on the transfer of what will be the stormwater and then sewer and water over to MUB, but the process is going to be that it will go to the Board of Directors of MUB probably in June, and if that passes, it would then go to the Public Service Commission for approval of the transfer of ownership of those three into the stormwater, sewer, and water. That could take up to 6 months, and then it would come to this body to approve that acquisition and the acceptance of the current rates established by Star City to cover those services. And so that would be probably not till late fall that it would come back to this body. So that's Star City. And then with regard to Westover, Westover has incurred the bond debt to do the upgrades that were required, which are in Holland Avenue, the water, sewer, and a new lift station, which will be kind of just over the Westover Bridge down on the right by Short Story, but closer to the bridge abutment coming across. And that work needs to be completed first, and that work will be done probably at some point this fall, late fall. At that point, the bond debt that was used to build that infrastructure would be incurred by MUB. That's what would then come to this body for approval of acceptance of that bond debt. And establishing the rates that would be already in place, established by Westover to fund that bond debt. And so that would then also come in late fall to this body to consider. So those are the two projects that MUB will be looking to assume the acquisition of, and then having the rates set approved by this body.
Just to clarify though, you said that Star City and Westover established the rates. Those rates were the rates that were negotiated by MUB, and MUB typically charges the rates that are necessary in order to perform the function, much in the same way as they did when they assumed the responsibility out at Chi Lake.
Yes, yes.
So it's not a matter that it's affecting Morgantown's rates.
Correct.
They will be paying rates sufficient to the project that MUB has agreed to take on.
Correct, from that group of users, which respectively would be Westover and Star City.
Yeah, I just don't want to scare new council off.
And again, if there are specifics I can't answer, I can go back and get those questions answered. But it would be late, there'll be more information unfolding as we move towards that time period, but it would be late fall before both those projects come back to this body for approval. But they've been on the MUB agenda, but the details, unless you're attending the meeting, you wouldn't know the details of these two projects.
Read about it in the newspaper. Then reports.
But I want to make sure that, especially as I come off council, that this body is comfortable with how we're working with MUB currently and into the future, whether I'm in that role or not. Continue that collaboration. So that's
Appreciate you bringing that forward.
Sure.
Thank you, Dave.
As the acting/interim city manager mentioned, we did a large cleanup on the banks of Deckers Creek and the cliff under the South High Street Bridge on Saturday. We had it was not a city-sponsored cleanup. It was a group of volunteers, though we had 40 or 45 volunteers total show up. We had 3 people rappelling from the bridge down over the cliff, removing trash. Most people went along the bottom and cleaned up trash there. We were, again, boating trash across to the rail trail side of the creek. I do appreciate the city. Damien allowed use of a Public Works vehicle to load the trash into, and we had 3 firefighters in attendance in case of any type of emergency from the repellers. But we had great success, no injuries reported. We have a little more work to do. You'll notice that it's not completely done, but after 4 or 4.5 hours, I figured that was enough for volunteers for the day, and we called it a morning. To some of Councilor Butcher's points, I had a National League of Cities Human Development Committee meeting today, and much of our discussion ranged on the gutting of Medicaid and how we as cities are going to deal with that, because as he said, it's going to be very detrimental to our hospital systems, particularly here in West Virginia, where a high percentage of our population receives Medicaid, and it is also one of the largest providers of mental health services, which we know is a lot of our issues with some of the populations that we don't enjoy, I get. You know, addiction and homelessness usually coincide with mental health, and when those people are able to receive even less services, those comorbidities are going to get worse. So I do think things are going to get way worse before they get better. It was really great to see that last year overdose deaths in West Virginia were down pretty significantly. When people no longer have access to mental health care, we'll see how it goes. A couple of upcoming events. There is a Bow Park concert tomorrow. We had our first concert of the season last week in Krebs Park. Tomorrow, Jocelyn and the Sweet Compression will be playing at the Wiles Hill Neighborhood Park at 6 o'clock. I'm not familiar with that particular group, but Wiles Hill always hosts a great concert. Tomorrow evening is also the Main Street Morgantown Cruise Inn. The vintage cars will be downtown at, I believe they start at 4 o'clock. That is usually pretty weather dependent. They don't like to have their cars getting too wet. And we are opening the Marilla Pool on Thursday. We're having our grand ribbon cutting ceremony so that the pools can open officially for the season for Memorial Day weekend. It does not look like a weekend that anyone's going to want to go swimming, but you know, it is what it is. We wouldn't know how to open a pool on Memorial Day weekend if the weather wasn't crappy, right? I think like most years that I've been on the Bow Park board, Memorial Day weekend's kind of a wash, but we'll give it a shot. Councilor Michael and I are working with some city staff and other partner organizations to host a beautification day throughout the downtown on May 31st from 9 to noon. We will be meeting at the historic train depot and having a short safety conversation before spreading out for multiple projects. Some folks are going to be doing a trash cleanup along Don Knotts. Some folks are going to be doing some fence painting along the rail trail. Some are going to be working on a nature trail next to Deckers Creek between South High Station and the river. So we're kicking off the city's tool lending library, the Moto trailer, and using that to try to get some of the downtown and surrounding areas beautified for the summer. So hopefully folks will come and help with that. We're reaching out to a lot of different organizations, including neighborhood organizations. The city is providing some refreshments afterward in the train depot, so food and drinks are always a good way to get people to volunteer for a few hours. Just a reminder, I am on personal travel later this week throughout next week, so I will not be in attendance at next week's Committee of the Whole meeting.
Thank you.
Well, Danielle mentioned the concert tomorrow at the Wiles Hills, so thank you. And I just wanted to say congratulations to all the WVU graduates. Obviously, I worked the whole weekend, and I'm very proud of all the students, and another year has gone by, so we'll welcome our next class here in the fall. So I don't really have much else other than that, and I do want to elaborate on the cleaning. Thank you, Councilor Trumbull and Damien and those that did the cleanup. I'm sorry I couldn't make it. I really wanted to be there. We have just been doing a few little side projects that require just one or two people. And I always say these small projects are starting to add up. And, if it's a tree trimming or taking a fallen tree or cleaning some mediums and stuff like that, they're very little time, maybe an hour of work, and we're making a lot of progress. And I want to thank all the volunteers that have helped me, and the city and the county that have loaned me a few people to help. So other than that, I don't think I have anything else. So
Yeah, very good. Just a couple of things. And Dave, I want to thank you for what you've done with the MUB board. That's been one of our success stories in terms of getting cooperation with an outside but home-based organization. And I think you had a lot to do with the attitude that is forthcoming. It's a positive thing for the city. And I think we're experiencing some of that too with DOH. We see an attitude change there now too, and that's happened a bit with them, but also I think it's happened a bit on our side too. And that's kind of what it takes, is that cooperation to get things accomplished. And lastly, I want to thank our city attorney for an excellent explanation of TIP. In particular, I think that gives us the ability to carry on and hopefully get the revenue necessary in order to develop those particular areas. And perhaps some of that will have to do with the affordable housing. But it's the kind of revenues that we need in order to pursue these lofty ideals. So revenue is the key, for sure. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you. I just wanted to note my appreciation to those who have been coordinating several different cleanups, several different areas, and note that it really has made a huge difference. And I appreciate the city staff and their efforts at cleanups and collaboration with council members as they're needing assistance before, during, and after, during the work week with the various cleanups, because it's not always easy to work with all of our enthusiasm. And I think we need to maybe create an annual, maybe spring and fall plan, so that we have the resources and the time and can kind of institutionalize this enthusiasm and capitalize on it. So this is not just my idea, but the idea of my colleagues, that we highlight this activity a couple of times a year so that we can make an impact and have have a cleaner, safer city. And with respect to MUB and housing, I think we need to have more discussions about those type of topics and how council can handle issues of housing and what kind of changes we can make that would have an actual impact. And similarly with MUB, how we can make sure that we know enough about what's going on that we can feel comfortable as we watch changes until they come to us. So it's important that we do the policy making that we intend to do and figure out how to do it well. So that's the end of my comments. And we have an executive session scheduled.
Were you gonna say something, Bill?
Pardon?
No, no.
Bill looked like he was
it's-
gonna, he took a
was hoping to get out
anticipatory
of here.
breath.
Can always leave.
Pardon?
All right, no, I know we have an executive session.
Okay. Is there anyone willing to read us into that?
Move that we move into executive session for discussion of matters protected by attorney-client privilege, as permitted by West Virginia State Code 6-9A-4B12.
All right. We're adjourning.